Hello everyone, and welcome along to Chargers TV. Ronnie, Justin Bryan alongside you here. And first and foremost, to everyone in Victoria, stay safe. We know you're going through a bit of a lockdown at the moment, and we send our best wishes, and hopefully everyone stays safe and you get through it all. As we hope to see NBL1 South action over in Victoria there to go ahead in the not too distant future. So welcome JB along.
Hi Ronnie, yeah, bit of a lockdown going on again. Filming on a Wednesday, announced another 7 days, so hopefully everyone holds tight over there. Thankfully, we're still able to get a couple of games away here in Tassie. We look forward to that this weekend, but yeah, big shout out to everyone in Melbourne.
Absolutely, so it's the top news story for our show here, so obviously NBL1 postponed the South games for Melbourne, but were able to continue the Mount Gambier v Hobart game, which we're about to touch on shortly. So that game went ahead last Friday night, and then obviously the Mount Gambier Pioneers went on to play the Northwest Thunder and the Launceston Tornadoes on the Saturday night. With this week being round 8 of NBL1 South in the league, is again been postponed in Melbourne, of course, due to the outbreak situation there. But the NBL1 have decided in consultation with all 3 NBL1 clubs here in Tassie that the return derby, which was supposed to be played back in round 16, JB, that has been moved forward to this Saturday night, and we'll touch a bit more on that later on in the show. Let's go through the results from Friday night.
Probably be helpful.
It would be
very helpful.
We were the only game in NBL1 South. So Mount Gambier came to town, and it was Hobart going down to Mount Gambier in the women's game, 74-60. Top scorers for your McKay Timber Hobart Chargers. Ellie Collins with 21.6 rebounds and 6 assists. Leah Bartlett, who got some good minutes in this game, JB.
Worked her way into the rotation very nicely.
She did. She had 10 points and 11 rebounds. So her first double-double in her NBL1 South career. Kylie McCauley with 10 points, 6 rebounds and 3 assists. Meanwhile, for Mount Gambier now, we didn't mention this on air, JB, and apologies, we should have, that Cherie Kalia got herself a triple-double, 21 points, 10 rebounds.
We definitely knew she had, and the 10 assists. We definitely knew she had the double-double. But yeah, wasn't actually aware until the Monday that she'd hit the triple-double. So yeah, apologies to her, but shout out on what was a pretty massive game.
Absolutely. We were able to speak to her live in the post-game. We'll throw that interview shortly. And Shakira Riley with 18 points and 2 rebounds as well too. Now, before we get some post-match reaction from Cherie, and we'll get some thoughts from Mark Nash, obviously, because recording this on a Wednesday, press conference day here, so Nashy fronting up the press, and we'll get his thoughts shortly. But what did you make of the game, JB? Obviously, Mount Gambier got their second win of the season and really took it to our McKay Timber Hobart Chargers women's side.
To be honest, Ronald, I think they exposed Hobart. They went the long way about coming to Tassie, and they played the game on their terms for the best part of 3.5 quarters. Took a quarter and a half to really get into it. Hobart, had a couple of errors early, but seemed to be on song, but all of a sudden Mount Gambier coming out, in the late part of that first quarter and started to drag things back towards their way. I thought Hobart had the run of the game, but all of a sudden Mount Gambier was only a 1-point bout. Then they coming out the second quarter, they really started tightening up defensively, and ball movement was really, really key for Mount Gambier. It was getting through every set of hands at least once. They weren't just looking for a good shot, they were looking for a great shot. They're making that extra pass. They weren't settling for jumpers. They were, penetrating dribble. That's something you'll hear Mark Nash talk about in the press conferences go up a little later in the week. But, beating Hobart off the dribble on the perimeter to get inside, and again, really hitting their corner threes and forcing Hobart to really try and rotate. And then again, with Hobart rotating, off the dribble they went again to get inside, extra pass, easy up under the hoop. And they really played that game for most of the second and third quarter. Hobart made a bit of a run there in the fourth, trying to get involved, but it just wasn't enough in the end. And Mount Gambier, I think, really one of the gutsiest wins that we've seen potentially for anyone in the NBL1 South. They were potentially not going to make it. They then flew to Sydney.
Yes.
They then flew into Hobart. We held the game up for them, and I think referee Martin Parker was also delayed leaving work, so took him a bit of time to come down from the coast as well. They had all those factors in, and they still managed to get the win. This is a team that I think is playing well above their 2-win record at the moment. Meanwhile, for Hobart, a lot of soul searching to do. They're going away this weekend against a really in form and what's going to be another well loaded up Launceston squad. They then head into the bye. A lot of questions, a lot of answers around the team at the moment. Let's see what they can do.
All right, let's get some post-match reaction from Cherie Clear, which was live post-game on our live stream, and then you'll hear a little bit from Mark Nash from today's press conference.
Sure, we're very happy. Just trying to organise the flights to get here was hectic. So credit to the club to get that done, and credit to the girls because, yeah, we just played so well, just balled out today. Bit scrappy, but we got it done.
Seemed like to dictate terms throughout the game, very well controlled. Love what you were running offensively. You were hitting the corner threes and then changed up, getting to the basket. Have you girls been learning a lot from head coach Matt Sutton as far as, you know, you're a new team in the league this season and just building that foundation in year one?
Yeah, for sure. So Matt has had heaps of experience playing C-ball with Mount Gambier, so just his knowledge of the game and to share it to us and how he just communicates with the girls is great. And yeah, we just try and get done what he tells us to.
Yeah, really the message has been the same over the last couple of weeks, and we talked about it last week, just competing for 40 minutes, and unfortunately we weren't able to do that. Mount Gambier came in and they were just, they had a really rough day travel as we knew, but just were delighted to be able to have the opportunity to play, and they just played at a tempo that we couldn't maintain.
So the forwards there from Cherie Clare and Chargers women's head coach Mark Nash. Let's have a look at Saturday night's game, JB. Of course, in Ulverstone for this one, as Hobart take on the Launceston Tornadoes.
Boy, oh boy, wowee. I think for Hobart, the first tick of the box is going to be, can we improve on last outing? Keely Froling really put us to bed, 40 and 20 last time on our own home floor. Travelling away, and a few more games under the belt, a bit more match experience, that's going to be key for Hobart. But Launceston with a massive inclusion. Kelsey Griffin, I do believe, Ronnie.
Yes.
WNBL champion, WNBL MVP, you name it, across the board, she's done it. Not really a small inclusion into that lineup, a major inclusion into that lineup. Hobart still, understandably, with Taylor Roberts out through injury. No Maddie Garrick. Shout out to Maddie, who has come back from, unfortunately, not qualifying for 3x3 there in Tokyo, but she's in quarantine herself. So shout out to Maddie there. Again, it's going to be a big game for Hobart. They're on the road, albeit unexpectedly. They are still at home, so the ability, well, at home I mean Tasmania.
Yes.
So there's still that ability to take a full squad up and still get rotations in. Again, it's going to be that energy and that effort that needs to come. Mark Nash spoke about it. It's tightening up on the perimeter defensively. It's being accountable. It's being on the boards. It's playing solid defence. It's everything that's going to take in their fibre of their being to win this game. They're going to have to bring to the floor. Everyone's going to have to fire. Ellie Collins has really started turning things around, so she's going to need to continue growing as well. Shana Thompson, she's due to fire at some point. I think this is the game to do it, heading into the bye, really build some confidence and momentum there. Leah Bartlett started getting into the rotation and playing well. Kylie McCauley's giving effort, as we've mentioned. Zoe Banks has started getting some crucial minutes as well, so there's all these factors that are involved. But again, Launceston's also coming off a massive game against Mount Gambier themselves. I know Mariah Payne had a 30-piece to her name as well. So a lot of factors there that need to go. And I mean, the way Mariah's playing, there's going to be a lot of clubs looking at her, going, okay, we're potentially looking at a WNBL level talent here as well. Obviously, coming back from the college system, she was her school's all-time leading scorer by the time she left, and you don't do that at the Div 1 level if you can't play some balls. So a lot of talent, this Launceston team. There's a reason they've been floating around that top 4 mark all year. This is a big game for Hobart. They need to provide an answer. Whether they can is another question. But again, there should be nothing more motivating than an intrastate derby.
Absolutely. And of course, we're looking forward to it. Your McKay Timber Hobart Chargers taking on the Launceston Tornadoes at the OBC Stadium up there in Ulverstone. 6 o'clock tip-off it will be.
5:55 on broadcast. We won't be on, but we will be there.
We will be there.
Live reporting, courtside, so to speak. So we will make sure to try and get socials and photos as much as we can.
Yes, we certainly will. And it'll be the Northwest Thunder Crew or commentary team that will take care of the broadcast. So, as JB says, we'll be there in attendance though, and looking forward to it. So, your McKay Timber Hobart Chargers in action this weekend. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll go through JB's sponsor roll call and come back with the men's results for you right after this.
On behalf of the McKay Timber Hobart Chargers, naming right McKay Timber, our platinum sponsors for the women McKay Timbers, for the men Clennett's Minor 10, our gold sponsor Swisho Hoops Academy, our bronze sponsors Halls Water Wastewater Treatment Services, Jayco Hobart and Salters Hire Contra. Shout out to our scoreboard hero and our graphics you will see on social media, core staff, our community partner Wilson Homes, Our mental health partners, Speak Up, Stay Chatty. Our media partners in the Mercury, 7HOFM and Beetle Black Media. Our corporate box sponsors, including THA, Davey Street Discount Pharmacy, Lion Co. and North City Cars. Our coaches sponsors tonight, Dobson Mitchell Allport sponsoring Mark Nash and core staff, again sponsoring Anthony Stewart. Finally, our player sponsors, Rockwell Bar and Grill, Precision Plumbing, Tas Trans Enterprises, Sam Proprietary Limited, The Barbershop, Bellamac, Home Smarts, Mermaids Takeaway, The Hanging Garden, Halls Water Wastewater Management, Bulk Nutrients, JMC and Express Service Centre. As they say in the classics, Ronnie, yibbida yibbida.
And welcome back. It's time for the men's results for you now. And Hobart getting the win on this occasion here against Mount Gambier, 107-79. A massive win for our McKay Timber Hobart Chargers in the men's game. Top scorers, Jonathan Mines, who was named Player of the Week and also in NBL1 Team of the Week, JB, 24.6 rebounds and 3 assists. He had a great game. Cohen Sapwell chipped in with 16 points, 3 rebounds and 4 assists. Elijah Pawson had a nice game as well too, 16 points, 2 rebounds and 2 assists.
Yes, I believe that's his home game career high. His away game, obviously 20 points on the road a few weeks back, but that is a home game career high for Elijah Pawson.
There you go. Well done to Elijah. Top scorers for Mount Gambier, Duam with 18 points and 11 rebounds. Tom Kubank with 12 points and 9 rebounds. Tom Daly, 11 points and 4 rebounds. So, JB, before we get some post-match reaction, a great game by the men. They really come out guns blazing, really took it to Mount Gambier. Some good change-ups in defence. They were very disruptive, made things happen on the offensive end, and a really good spread of scorers as well too. When we looked at the box score, nearly everyone scored, bar Geordie Hargrave. But again, Geordie Hargrave did some great work on the defensive end, doing the little things which really counts that you might not see on the scoreboard.
Absolutely. Overall, I mean, it's probably Hobart's best overall team performance, I think, all year. We had 5 double-digit scorers. We got everybody off the bench and into the game, and that includes first game of Phoenix Roby, who had a terrific, and I thought unlucky not to get into the top 10 players of the week.
Yes, I'm devastated about
nearly
that.
Nearly a 4-point play. He even jokes around. You can find his interview on the YouTube channel that he knew he was going to miss the free throw, so he did it deliberately and got his own putback. Now, that's a lot of confidence from a rook in his first game. I don't know whether to believe him there, but Phoenix does have that capability, that's for sure. But no, it was just a good all-around team game from Hobart. They probably started a little slow in the first and second quarters. I think Coach Stewart would mention that themselves. They started to really build on things heading into the halftime break. As we mentioned, they were going into different defensive sets, really trying to lock down those last 2 minutes to, get those crucial stops and build momentum in each break. Well, they come out in the third quarter. Shout out to Cal Bruton, who joined us on broadcast for the whole third quarter. You can go back and watch the game. We will eventually try and clip that up.
Yes.
That's going to be a long clip that's going to be worth watching.
My word.
But, I mean, talking to Coach Bennell after the game, we're talking with Cal and we're watching the game. We're sort of not really watching the scoreboard. All of a sudden, Hobart get 5 or 6 stops in a row. They get 3 or 4 quick buckets. That game blows out really early. Nearly a 40-point lead going into three-quarter time. Obviously, Mount Gambier started to make a bit of a run back, and I think Coach Stewart wasn't too pleased with that. Things started to tighten up again. Then we see Harry Griffiths, Luke Brown, Phoenix Roby on the floor. All 3 have major contributions. Don't think I've heard a crowd louder, even when a team's up by almost 30. Everyone involved, we wanted Geordie to try and hit the scoreboard. Didn't happen, but as you mentioned, doing the little things, boxing out, getting rebounds, using his body, using his powers. And a big shout out to the Hobart bench too, as you'll hear Cohen talk about the fact that, they're really, the young ones are really supportive on the bench of the senior players, and vice versa, the senior players need to pay that back as well. So they were up and about really loud, and I mean, they were probably lucky not to get a couple of warnings. They really encroached where their bench line was. But the atmosphere of the game was fantastic. The boys played really well. They've now cracked the top 4, and we've talked about how Coach Stewart probably wanted to build to that by the end of the season. Well, they're already there. Big news earlier today, which we'll touch on, which is probably going to help propel them as well. Matty Young made the number 2 highlight of the week with his double baseline shot and ball fake, and nailed the jumper there. It was just a great game, probably the best game I think the Chargers have played all year, Ronnie, no doubt. Absolutely, and gives them good confidence going into Saturday night's return derby against the Thunder. Now, you'll hear post-match reaction from Cohen Sapwell, and of course we did chat with Luke Brown and Phoenix Roby, and as JB mentioned, you can find those 2 on our YouTube page there, so the 2 interviews of Luke and Phoenix there. We'll play a little bit of Cohen's.
and we'll play a little bit of Anthony Stewart's press conference today, more about going in the lead up here to the Derby on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, all week we just focused on making sure that defence was our main priority. They're a team that averages 108 points a game. And to hold them to 79 tonight it's a good feat for us. It's good.
I saw that there was a bit of a zone kind of change up there, so a bit of disruptive defence. Was that a strategy that Coach Stewart had in mind?
Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but it's making sure that we're messing up with them mentally. They're such a good and talented team individually and coach really well. Just to make sure that we're always switching it up. We can't just stay on one thing too long because they're too good to stay that.
Feel like you own one on the Thunder from the start of the year?
Oh, I can't wait. More importantly, I know the guys are up and about at training and really feel like they owe them. And we're playing some extremely good basketball right now. And watched the Thunder Mount Gambier game, and I think with Zach coming back, because he wasn't there for the first game, Jack Stanwicks, and then you add in Tad as well, we'll be ready to go come Saturday night.
So the thoughts there from Cohen Sapwell and head coach Anthony Stewart, and the big news coming out of today's press conference, JB, that Tad Dufelmeier has signed with the club for the remainder of the season. He will come from the Cairns Taipans, where he's playing his final game tonight for them, and I believe he's suiting up on Saturday.
Yes, I do believe so. He's going to have a massive game. So, of course, recording Wednesday night. Tad will play tonight. Expected to fly in Thursday. We're going to try and get him. Hopefully you'll see that interview. Probably we might even use that almost as a bit of pre-game hype, Ronnie.
Yes.
So we'll try and get the show out. You'll be hearing us hopefully around Friday. We'll try and get a Tad interview up for you Saturday morning, heading into our battle with the Northwest. But I mean, that is a massive inclusion for Hobart. As Coach Stewart has touched on, he's been hitting that 14, 15 point mark over the last couple of games there for Cairns. Obviously got some games with Cairns. He was almost, a lot of people projected him, and we've had to try and keep this quiet. The idea was if we could potentially have got Tad a little earlier, that would have been awesome. But obviously when the NBL Cup come around,
yes,
Cairns had some injuries. Tad was guaranteed minutes and ended up falling into a great rotational piece and key piece, obviously, for Cairns. He's lasted out the whole year. But, I mean, good luck to a team that now contains Tad Dufelmeier, who we've seen at this level before,
yes,
can play. You've also got John O'Mines, who's in some exceptional form. Cohen Sapwell, who's in some exceptional form. You've got a young core group biting at the bit. There's a new guy in the 12th man chair every week that is still getting on the floor. So he's really pushing the senior group. We've got a great second unit coming in. We've got some other great local additional pieces, young pieces as well. And as Stewie's touched on, the likes of your Jack Stanwicks and your Jacob Richards and your Elijah Pawsons, there's a great core group there that now have that ability to learn from your NBL level talents in your Tad Dufelmeiers, your John O'Mines, who's pushing that sort of selection, and a Cohen Sapwell, who's learning as well. So, I mean, when you look at where your first two layers of guards and perimeter players are, there's a lot of depth there. And again, Hobart continues to play out of its skin with size, but vice versa. They are going up against the Thunder, who have done a similar thing to us this year as well. Very local core group. Coach Haywood never really sticking to a full, consistent lineup all the time, mixing things up, making it hard to scout, but at the same time, getting everyone involved, getting them energised. They've got a nice young core group as well. Mixed in with some good local talent, experienced talent. They've probably got a little bit of size on us overall on the board, but again, Hobart is a different team now to what it was 6-7 weeks ago when we played the Thunder as well. So a lot of things can happen. I think Hobart, with the inclusion of Dufelmeier, could be a little bit of transition there, obviously. I think Coach Stewart's going to be happy for the next week, certainly for the bye, so he can transition Tad back into the team, get the chemistry going and things flowing like that. But I don't see Tad being too much of a disruption either, as we've seen John O'Mines talk about in the media as well. Better players make your job easier, and they're going to relish the idea of someone like a Tad coming in. He's now going to be obviously a better player with more NBL experience. Going to make that job easier for your Cohens, for your Tads. Football Tads there. Of course, it's going to be easier for him. Jono, Cohen, Jack. All these guys are going to relish. Elijah's really coming along.
Yes.
This is going to be a great group to look at. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about other potential players who may or may not come into this team. We're not going to weigh in on speculation until we've got hard news on it. But Hobart sitting in a top 4 position, really wanting to challenge for a top 2, potentially top, the number 1 team in the South. I think it's going to be a barn burner of a game. I think it's going to be a much better game than what it was the first time round. And I do think Hobart get the win on the away floor.
It's going to be an exciting matchup on Saturday night, JB. We're expecting a packed house at the OBC Stadium in Ulverstone. And, of course, if you can't make the game, you can tune into the live stream. 8 o'clock tip-off there. And as we said earlier, the Northwest commentary team taking the call on that one. Again, we'll be there in attendance. And, yes, we'll be updating socials as much as possible. We will be getting post-game interviews with our players and our coaches after the game as well too. So you'll see them pop up over the next few days after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the bonus of having, the intrastate derbies. To get away for us is not too bad. It's going to be a nice little day trip. We'll leave here about lunchtime. We'll get back in the wee hours of the morning, no doubt. But totally going to be worth it. It's going to be a fun little road trip. We might even try and get some road trip footage of Chargers TV if we can, just a few little extra pieces for you to see. But no, it should be fun, should be a good little trip. Obviously, again, we're going to try and update our socials, try and get some photos, obviously player and coach interviews, all that sort of stuff. Always a good trip on the Northwest. We know a lot of people on the Northwest, obviously. Yes. So welcome with open arms, which is always, a bonus as well. It's better than walking into hostile territory and people sort of looking at you, wondering who you are. So no, it should be a good trip. Always good fun up there, and should be some two very different and interesting contests, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Looking forward to Saturday night. Okay, you can follow the Hobart Chargers on their social media. You can give us a like on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter, you can follow us on Instagram, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we're only 5 subscribers off from 300 to JB, so we're slowly getting up there.
Yes, we are getting there. We don't know whether we'll do a special promo for subscriber 300, but I mean that could be anyone as well. So, but no, like, subscribe, everything on our socials. Best way to keep up to date with everything going on, Ronnie.
Yes, keep up to date with all the goings on here for your McKay Timber Hobart Chargers. Now, JB, obviously it's been a massive weekend. We had the games Friday night. We had the shoot-a-thon on over the weekend on Saturday. We've had Cal Bruton in as a special guest commentator, and we also got him for an interview as well too, which we're going to play a little snippet to round out our show for this week as well too. But great to have Cal down here. It's like anywhere Cal goes, he's a man of the people. Cal, you can either get 5 minutes with him or literally...
Like us, you get 3/4 of an hour. Yeah, Cal's always so generous with his time too. It doesn't matter who it is. I mean, we could see from our broadcast position the amount of people that seen him in the crowd. And you couldn't miss him. Yes. Anyone that's seen Cal on Friday night, you weren't going to miss the great man. Always generous with his time. And, I mean, he's all about basketball and community and incorporating everyone. And, I mean, anyone that tuned into the broadcast heard the amount of work that he's doing as far as, making sure the minority and the majority are connected as one with the basketball community. That was great as well. Always so generous with his time. It was great to have him on board. And as you mentioned, a massive weekend of hoops. We had the doubleheader Friday night. We had the shoot-a-thon Saturday. I ended up popping down after work to have a look. A lot of tired bodies, but still a lot of people floating around trying to get their shots up as well. I wasn't there in the morning, I can assure you of that. There was still some pretty tired people there, though, that I heard. A great fundraising effort as well. In excess of over $60,000 for the Ronald McDonald House charity. So well over a year's worth of accommodation for a family there. That's a great effort, especially for a first-time thing. And I think they're looking to try and make it annual as well. So, no doubt we'll follow that with keen interest moving forward. Great to have Cow down. Great to have everyone involved. One of the better weekends of hoops in Hobart for quite some time.
Absolutely. Now, just in some other basketball news as well too. Nick Martin, who's obviously the Southern Development Officer for Basketball Tasmania, has been promoted to the state head coach for the FDP, SDP programs in our state body. Mark Radford is departing. He is taking a new role with the Jack Jumpers.
An assistant coach role?
As an assistant coach. So congratulations to Mark on that appointment. But congratulations to Nick here. We're just giving Nick a bit of a shout out. I was lucky enough to interview him this morning about the role, and you'll see that on the BTAS social media over the next few days. But well done to Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick's been doing a lot of work with BTAS for quite a number of years now. I know he originally moved down from Queensland where he'd been in a similar role as well. And I mean, he's helped develop that program in leaps and bounds. I mean, you only had to see, he was offsiding Mark Radford for a lot of Rad's tenure in the position he's had as well. And you can only see like the amount of growth in participation at the FDP, SDP level that's exposed, a lot more of our junior athletes to a more senior experience and a more elite level, which is only better for the game as well. So, Mark is going to leave, a massive set of shoes to fill, but Nick knows what needs to be done to fill those shoes as far as the absolute head of that program as well. So shout out and congratulations to him, and can't wait to see where the program goes from here, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Now, just in some more basketball news, we're just going to keep rolling here with all the basketball news that is happening. So let's remind you of the tip-off times in Ulverstone, and I would imagine that the Northwest Thunder crew do go 5 minutes on before the scheduled tip-off. So here we go. So 6 o'clock is the tip-off for the women's game.
5:55 on air.
There for hopefully the Northwest Thunder crew will get that going, and then at 8 o'clock in the men's game, and then at 7:55 p.m. For the live stream to go on air there. Now, when we talk about, at the start of the show about Victoria being in lockdown. Now, next week is the bye week. We're going to, as it's the long weekend, we're still going to put a show out next week, JB, because obviously we'll
do a mid-season breakdown.
We'll review and as you just said, mid-season breakdown. But then we're not sure where this all lies going forward. Obviously, as you said, JB, there's a further 7-day lockdown for Victoria. And we're just not sure where the next game will be for our McKay Timber Hobart Chargers after Saturday night.
Absolutely. So obviously this weekend was meant to be a home game against Geelong, so apologies to sponsors and ticket holders and whatnot. No doubt there will be clear communication from the club in the coming days regarding tickets, sponsors, etc., stuff like that. No doubt that will have to be rescheduled. As you mentioned, wanting to get interstate to play a game, a lot of risk-reward relying on that. We would need further details there. Another factor to consider at the moment is that we have Tassie teams that now have 2 weeks ahead of other teams in Melbourne. Now, a bit easier for the Melbourne teams. They can just play a back-to-back Saturday, Sunday or a Friday, Saturday, whatever they need to do. A lot harder for Tassie, so there's still that potential that, we are, 2-3 weeks ahead of the rest of the competition. What goes on from there, we're not sure. Having spoken to a few people, the AFL seems to have been almost a global leader in the way our sports fixturing has gone in these situations. So I think that, just from having seen the last 12 months, I wouldn't be surprised whether you see the NBL and the NBL1 probably follow the lead of the AFL. If the AFL's going to take a break, does the NBL1 take a break in Victoria? That'll be interesting to see. But there's a lot of factors at stake. Obviously, health and safety of everyone is the priority at the moment. At the end of the day, there are a lot of things bigger than basketball.
Absolutely.
So we do hope that Melbourne and Victoria get through this lockdown. But again, as we have news come to hand, we can let you know. But we're as privy to it as everyone else on the board. There's no one sitting there in a higher office going, we know exactly what's happening with Victoria. As it comes to fruition, we're able to broadcast it to the people. So obviously the announcement yesterday, Ronnie and I both found out that we were definitely going north as of 12:30 yesterday when the league announced it. We'd heard rumours that they were potentially going to reshuffle, knowing that Melbourne may go into a second lockdown. We knew that as early as Friday, but there was nothing confirmed until 12:30 yesterday. So obviously travel arrangements and game arrangements, etc., have now been fixed on that. Not so bad for the Thunder, obviously, and Launceston, because I think they were already having that double header at Ulverstone on the Saturday, so it's a matter of just changing the teams up. But obviously there's a few other things for Hobart to sort out, again, tickets, sponsors, etc. No doubt travel and accommodation and different things like that as well. So again, as news comes to hand, we can let you know, but at the moment, as far as we're concerned, we're going into a bye the following week, and then the weekend after that, we will hopefully have more news.
Hopefully so, JB, and keep up to date on all our social media to get the latest news on when we could potentially be back on deck after, hopefully, the June long weekend. Fingers crossed there. So that will wrap us up here for today's show. We're going to leave you with, as I mentioned, a little bit of Cal Bruton's interview from Saturday, and we're going to cut up the piece where we talked about the commentary from the previous night.
Jeez, I haven't heard this yet.
No, you haven't. So
boy.
So we'll cut that. It's a very long interview. It's about 15 minutes. We'll get that. As we're talking now, as this is probably up on YouTube now, we'll get the interview up on YouTube. The interview's ready to go. We just haven't uploaded as yet, but we'll do that straight after the show. So yes, it will be a little bit of that. It's a 15-minute interview, but it's worth it. What Cal speaks about and what there's a wide range of things we talk about in the interview. This happened on the Saturday afternoon down at the Shootathon event. So have a bit of a listen to that. So on behalf of Justin Bryan, I'm Ronald Riggs. We will see you next week for our preview show.
That was fun. That was fun. Listening to you guys through the headphones and talking the game up, and then we talking about something that happened in the past. And watch this play. I really felt it gave a spirit that was second to none for us, just enjoying it. But also, I think that kind of came through with the broadcast, and I'm sure the people that watched it would have kind of had a laugh and kind of followed that with interest. And I saw a little report like, "Yo, Cal, you should have a microphone." And well, if they give me one, I'll gladly speak into it, right? But no, I'm enjoying just being a part of the overall growth of the game here. Again,